Hey everyone, how you doing today? Thought I'd show you something kind of new I've been working on, and I've been doing more and more testing and things like that too. And right now I am in Reforged Eden creative scenario. However, this new SV that I'm working on, which is kind of more of a I don't know, kind of like a I don't know, transport ship of some origin yet. It's a bigger ship, and I kind of wanted to feel and be more like a real ship or something you might kind of come across in Star Citizen or something on those lines. So it'll have a nice interior, and it's got quite a bit of room for it and stuff like that in there. And we'll see how it comes out when it's done. This was just one of these ideas that I had in mind on building something. It's not super unique in shape, but I think it's got these big smooth sections, and I'll probably, of course, try to keep on refining this and get more detail into it, especially after I get a paint job on it and stuff like that, and get it finished up. So, just trying to work out a lot of the stuff. It's obviously not flyable yet, and the reason why this is not going to be for Reforged Eden is that's part two. That's the next thing I wanted to talk about. A little bit here, and I'll try to keep it short. I know I tend to run on way too much, I'm sure, but and make for longer videos, which sucks for me too because I gotta upload them. Um, okay, let's try to be quick. The last video I did a few days ago, and yes, I'm still alive, still care about the game. I did these SV flight model tests in Reforged Eden. And I came to the determination out of all these different variations of them that this one here actually performed the best with pitch, yaw, and roll. Um, as you can see, it's very, very agile, considering, well, there's no actual ship there. So I wanted to take that design and just try a little bit more with it. So I went over to, where to go? This one here. And this started out as that creation, but I ended up increasing the thruster count on it to 30 instead of 16 that it had, and I put in obviously it's got 12 plasma turrets. It's got some steel blocks now, some hardened steel blocks. So the hardened steel are the whiter ones, the steel blocks are the grayer ones, but not a lot overall. And then all the thrusters are slammed in on the center of mass here. And well, with the increased thrusters and but also more weight and bigger dimensions because it sticks out the side by another 5 blocks or so, and in the front a little bit. I figured it was going to be slower than what I just showed you there, but in reality, this is how fast it is. I'm holding down the arrow key to turn, and literally, it's awful. Just utterly awful. So I abandoned the idea of thinking that that was some kind of breakthrough with that test model there, and this is terrible. Can't work. Glad I didn't build the ship first and then discover that. Um, so sorry about that. Thought I was onto something, and with all these models over here that tested to be like that was the best working one of all of these contraptions over here with all the same parts and thrusters to keep it, scientifically right, so you can properly test things. And it's pitiful. It is beyond pitiful. It is the worst flying thing ever. I think it's even worse than that one MCR and Talon I made. Sorry about that. Anyway, so I'm like, wow, what? Again, I thought I was onto something, and then all of a sudden this happens, and it's like, what the heck's going on here? So then I started messing around with the tank that I've been meaning to release and trying to release it, but I've got more and more issues constantly. So the tank, I went through and I kind of redid the hover engine thing on it, and I did several different tests with it. One, I had just more hover engines all over the place. That didn't really accomplish anything noticeable to me besides having some extra hover engines in the center between the ones on the outer walls here. I think that does help. So I've got like 6 of them going down the center of the tank here now, which so it can not like lose its hover engine like when you're going over some weird terrain and stuff like that. So, but I kept it at the same weight, roughly here. So we're at 287 tons. And then I took it out for a drive, and I think in the videos I showed and demonstrated just recently too that this would do 50 ms in all directions. Well, not in all directions. In forward, left, right, and forward, left, and right. Not reverse. But essentially, what happens now? It only does like 44 left to right. I believe, yeah, 44. Well, and well, honestly, it slowed down, and I'm like, what did I screw up? How all I did is really kind of, I think I added like maybe 2 more hover engines, but they don't weigh that much. And I kind of took some off the sides and put them in the center, and now I'm like losing like 6 ms strafing. What's going on with that? I'm like, so then I brought in the good old MCRN Scorpion over here because I kind of been using this as a test model because I knew how it worked at different points in time. Like when I first built it in Reforged Eden, it could do 50 ms in all directions, and I had a little bit to spare. Even if I added a little bit more weight, it could still hit those speeds. And then after there's a patch, and it changed the thruster models to the SV version instead of the CV version. So they ended up protruding out the edge a little bit, but that's not really a big deal because these don't have that glaring lens flare on them that the CV ones did. So whatever. But then I realized that they also got nerfed with that model change, and then the tank would do 40 ms in all directions. And I know I showed all this in past videos of that very thing happening, or if not in my own videos, then in some of the Excalibur streams. So I know it's well proven and documented that, okay, this did do 50, then it does 40. Now, I believe there was another change, nerf, or something going on that I just discovered, and now it does 35. But not consistently 35, because it'll do 34 one way, it'll do 35 the other way, it'll do 37 forward, and it'll do 35 backwards. But literally, it's got the same thrust power on every direction. And I'm getting 3 different numbers coming back as in how fast it can go in each direction. And it's slower than it used to be. So how does that speed affect doing anything? Like, okay, I got no ammo in here, and or anything like that to slow it down right now. And we're in the creative scenario, so let's climb this hill. Now, this used to be no big deal. I could pop up a hill like this. Here, let me do that again with be at the maximum hover height, and at least approach the hill, kind of keeping the front end up a little bit. I know that this thing can get kind of caught up on things due to the nose, but literally, I can't go up a hill anymore with it. And that's with no ammo in it, or weight, or cargo, or anything. I can't even go up a little hill like this. And this was like nothing for it before. Absolutely nothing. Inside of Reforged Eden, it was nothing for it. And it can't even go up that now. And I'm like, wow, this is just downright getting bad. Now, something else I noticed, too, and it really threw me for a loop. Here, let me drive over to it a second. Back over to the Phalanx tank. Now we looked at the weight on it, and that weight is obviously without ammo in it. So 287 tons. Now in this creative scenario, it doesn't add that ammo into the weight of the vehicle. If you're to put something in there, it doesn't make a difference. You'd have to do that in survival. However, in survival, when we use these Excalibur's new tank in this tank, and we shot up a POI, couple POIs, I was getting even worse performance on this tank, and then I looked at its weight with the 216K ammo bays full of ammo for the 4 different types of turrets that are on here. And they were pretty full. I mean, I had them up to about their max limits of weight capacity, but it brought the weight up on this to above, I believe, 470 tons. So literally, I was able to put almost 200 tons of ammo in 216K ammo boxes. And I didn't know that was possible. So you can imagine how this thing was behaving with an extra like nearly 200 tons added to it because of the ammo boxes on top of how it already was suffering. And that's kind of why I haven't released this yet, because it's and then on top of all that, the thrusters or something got nerfed again. Or if the thrusters didn't get nerfed, then other parts decided to be heavier again. And it's like, oh my God, really? What gives here? You know, what is wrong with this? I don't understand. Why would you do that? So I took something else in the past, and I know I did do a video of, or showed this in a video, and I was really happy with it because it was really agile and maneuverable, and I was like bouncing off the mountains and jumping off the sides and like practically flying with it because it's, you know, it's a small, light, tier 1. It was a vanilla creation, not Reforged. So I thought I would see how this actually did in Reforged. Now, to start with, this was a tier 1 vanilla creation, and it's not running much of anything on it, like nothing. I mean, it's got some dinky little thrusters. It's got one like minigun turret and 2 Gatling guns on it, and it would fit within the CPU specs of tier 1 vanilla. Doesn't fit in the CPU specs of tier 1 Reforged Eden, so I had to add a basic CPU core to it to get it up to 10,000 CPU. Doesn't use all that 10,000 CPU, but it uses more than 5,000, which the limitation was. Didn't come out that way in vanilla. But then, okay, I'm like, okay, so we added the block, whatever. It's got enough power. Let's see how it works now. Keep in mind, this thing was really fun to use. Okay, so turning on it, not too bad. I would say it's close to how it might have been in vanilla. I can't exactly attest to that, but its maximum speed now is 25. I know it used to at least do 40, I think, or very close to that. And it only does 8 ms per side. And this thing could scoot up like any rock face, anything, like the steepest of steep. And now I can't climb a single hill with it. So let alone not being able to launch off the top and fly around like a madman, which was a lot of fun to do, and that's what it was for. It can't even climb a little hill. Like, everything is too much for it. Like, oh my God. And I'm like, this is the way it went. Continual nerfs, and it was even underpowered to start with versus vanilla, and then nerfed several times beyond that to the point of ludicrousy. I mean, this is just insanely, I don't know what's going on here or why. But I that's pretty much it, though. I got to cease building for it. Not going to build for the Reforged part of Reforged Eden any longer. Unless it does a dramatic turnaround on its specifications, because this is silly. This is really utterly silly. What's going on here on the test results? On literally everything performs like a pile of garbage, and it's so limiting on building anything that, and it's not fun. It's not fun to use them in game. It's not fun to try to build them and watch them suffer the way they are. So I gotta move on from the Reforged part of the Eden. But that doesn't mean I don't like Project Eden. So I was just talking with Excalibur a little bit, and it sounds like we're going to try to do a new playthrough in Project Eden this time, and not Reforged Eden. Because having all the neat parts and the quantum cores and the new guns and weapons, I appreciate all that stuff. That's really really cool. But whatever's going on with the philosophy behind the Reforged part and the flight model is honestly terrible. And I can't support that any longer. Nor can I possibly even try to build anything worthwhile for it at this point in time. So I think what's going to happen is like the newer creations I'm going to build, and that is one thing. If I don't use the extra parts in Project Eden, then these will be much more compatible with vanilla as well. In fact, I think it's the same flight model in vanilla and Project Eden. It's just like you just got to watch. If you start using some Eden specific only parts, you won't be able to use it in vanilla because those parts would be illegal or show you in red or something like that. So I just wanted to kind of show what's been happening, and I wanted to get excited about things, and I guess I can be again. But I realize what the real culprit of all my grievances are, and it really has to do with the Reforged part of Reforged Eden. I think it's ridiculous the way things are working in it, and I also would say that I find this completely unrealistic. To start with, it just as an example of like modern day technologies, we have jet engines, obviously. So you take a commercial like airliner, say Boeing 737, and it's got like I believe that's a twin engine or twin jet engine plane. With fully loaded with fuel and passengers and two jet engines on the wings. It can take off pretty quickly. It can hit a cruising speed of I think it's a little over 500 miles an hour, 550 maybe, and I think it can hit like a maximum flight speed of somewhere around 650 to 700 miles an hour. And that's in those engines. If you weigh those engines versus what the weight of the total aircraft weighs, you find that those engines weigh a very small percentage of the overall weight of the entire craft. But what we're getting in Reforged here is like one of these big thrusters or jet engines or whatever would have so little power that if they were used on anything like a modern day jetliner, that the thing wouldn't even be able to take off the ground because it couldn't gain enough speed to even gain lift. And that's how bad it is, and that's why it's extremely difficult to build anything for it, and be pleased at how it works, at least. And we're talking like HVs and SVs. I haven't relooked at CVs in a little bit, but I just wanted to kind of tell you what was up with that and why I'm gonna have to abandon the whole Reforged part of Project Eden, or I'm sorry, Reforged Eden. It's down to the flight model. At the last video, I think I made mention, or maybe I did or didn't, but I believe that the thrusters on HVs and SVs should have at least double the performance they do currently. And after that took place, I believe they got nerfed even more, so that they were even weaker than they were when I made that statement. Or if that didn't happen, then a lot of the parts or something got heavier. Something gave, but things are performing just worse than they did even before, and it's to the point where I can't do this anymore. I don't know the thinking or the rationale behind it. What it's trying to accomplish by doing that, but I don't agree with it, and I think it's completely unfun to build for it. So yeah, basically I'm not changing much. I'm just gonna build like vanilla / Project Eden things moving forward, and the next like playthrough with Excalibur is also going to be probably in Project Eden. So I mean, we like the Eden thing, we like the content, we like all the other aspects of it, the more parts and weapons and everything else. But the Reforged part of the flight model is, in my opinion, terrible. And at this point in time, just about completely unworkable. So we're going to have to move on from that. But that's about all I got for today's video. If you got any thoughts or information you could throw out there. I mean, other people read your comments too, and I read them all. I don't know what gives, or am I missing something important here? I don't know. I just basically can tell you from my observations and past knowledge of knowing how things worked, to how they are working at this point, with a few test examples. And this one being a primary one, because this was built for specifically Reforged Eden, and it was used in Reforged Eden gameplay, and it performed exactly how it should have, and now it's like it can't climb a hill, and it's super slow, and it's terrible now. And I don't know why that is, or why these changes were made. It really escapes me. But I just wanted to kind of spread my information to you guys. I know a lot of you are builders, and maybe some of this information would work out for you too. I don't want to like give up hope on everything, because I was starting to really get down in the dumps about this, especially building this last tank. It's been a miserable build, and it's so unfun that I'm just like, it's tainted me on wanting to do anything else, because I'm like, this just sucks. I mean, this thing with the amount of thrust power in there versus how the hull was built, trying to be as light as possible for being a tank, this thing should just haul butt, and it doesn't. In fact, if there's ammo in there, it's unbearable to like get around. I mean, like, can't climb a little hill anymore or anything, and it should be able to fly right over them. And it's like, and I've tried different test models with SVs and stuff, and they don't work, and none of it's working. And it's I don't know if it's like some bug or intentional. I hope it's a bug, but if it's intentional, and that's the vision for the Reforged part of Reforged Eden, then I can't support that moving forward. So that's about all I've got for today, and please let me know what you think about all this stuff. And thanks again. Adios.